Alright, I got a problem in that I recorded a whole bunch of synths in mono. This track was done right after reading the Mixer Man, whatever one that was, Zen and the Art of Mixing. And he was talking about the concept of big mono, which means stacking up a whole bunch of not really stereo tracks that have synths are particularly prone to it. Tracks that have some kind of artificial stereoizing on it. And his argument was you're way better off just recording mono and then doing stuff later. Well, I've kind of come to the conclusion that I don't know if I totally agree with that, because sometimes these built-in synths have some real character to them in regard to stereoizing that is hard to mimic with plugins, or hard to get right after the fact. Usually I'm just better off getting it on the synth itself. But that's another argument. I don't really want to argue with Mixer Man. It's a style thing, I think, most of all. But either way, I've got mono synths, and I got to dig myself out of this hole now. So let's see what I've got right now. A protest about the Cold War right there. Okay, I'm mixing with headphones right now, which is definitely not the most ideal way to do this. I've covered many of these concepts before, but I kind of wanted to put them all together in one big fancy video here to kind of show you what I'm up to. First off, I've got this Moog bass, which I'm happy with in the verses.
I follow him to see what the hell was wrong. He'll cook you dinner. He'll cook.
And it gets a little bit brighter and a little bit meaner, just a little bit less. We're kind of intentionally boxy a little bit. I think we had some guitar pedals on there and stuff. We were up to some no good with that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to definitely want to stereoize that. So I'm just going to go ahead and duplicate the track. And what I like to do is then, after I make the copy, delete everything in it. And this will kind of gives me a second alternative to play with. So we'll just add a new track in Cubase. And we'll call that Moog Chorus. Then, don't need Moog 2 now. We have some cool plugins there. And we don't. Okay, so we'll just ditch that. Okay, and I like to keep things the same color. This particular track, this is an old mix I'm dealing with, but normally my assistant Ruprecht would go in and do all this for me before I mix, but I don't know where that jerk is. Anyway, so he's going to be editing these videos, which makes it a little bit funny that I can insult him all I want. Okay, so anyway, I'm going to drag those down. I hold Control in Cubase to keep the timing perfect. And I think there's actually another chorus somewhere else. Let's dig that up real quick. No, it's right here. I can see it. Okay, and that's one of many problems, but let's go ahead and stereoize this. I can go pretty fancy. I've got a handful of gadgets for this. I like the Ozone 5 thing quite a bit. But in this instance, I'm working fast. I don't want to think about it too much. The stock Cubase widener is pretty cool most of the time. Let's see what that does, because it might wreck the low end, but... He'll cook you dinner. He'll cook you dinner. Yeah, it looks so good. And it's got a color knob, which can be pretty cool. I want to get a little more fizz out of that. A little more kind of Nine Inch Nails in it. You'll wanna eat it. He'll cook you dinner. Yeah, that's closer. And of course, the brighter we are, the more width we're gonna have. So let's do some of this business. What happens if we do a little Camel Crusher too? We'll just go ahead and keep getting nasty here. And I'm working fast, and I'm gonna have to go back and clean all this up, no doubt. And I'm probably not going to like it when I hear my monitors, but that's another story. So we're just going to have some fun here and see what happens. I'm big when I'm working on the section like a chorus, I'll just loop it. And you can see I got the markers already set. They're snapped, so it'll keep looping without missing a beat or anything like that. You'll wanna eat it. He'll cook you dinner. He'll cook you dinner. Yeah, it looks so good. And sometimes I like to use more than one widener. I think they work a little bit differently, and cascading them can kind of be a cool sound sometimes. So I'm going to go with the the T-Rex Classic comp. It's got a stereo enhancement that I just turn all the way up. Hell with it. Let's see what that does.
He'll cook you dinner. He'll cook you dinner. Yeah, it looks so good. You'll wanna eat it. He'll cook you dinner.
You know, I'm going to check this on my monitors. This is going to get weird for a second, boys and girls, but I have to know this so I'm not giving you bad information. I'm sure it's going to be goofed up sounding.
Dinner. He'll cook you dinner. Yeah, it looks so good. You'll wanna eat it. He'll cook you dinner. He'll cook you dinner.
Okay, I can go with that. And I didn't get to crank it up quite as much as I wanted to, but didn't want to mess my mix up here. But that'll work. I can live with that for now. Now, you may have noticed on the previous chorus, we had our Hungarian chick. She was doing some... this was a really cool loop we made using... what kind of samples were those? Play things. I don't know what brand this is. East West, maybe? Yeah, East West, one of their choir things I'd bought a while back. Anyway, and now it's not closing. Better not lock up on me, boy. Alright, that was kind of forced in there, so we're going to have to deal with that here, too.
He'll cook you dinner. He'll cook you dinner.
And you can see, as is, that's not going to work. And I've already dragged it to its own track, much like I did the Moog. And let's do it again here. And it'll come up later again, but we'll deal with that then. Okay, in addition, I got the JP8080 sound, which is just a little kind of 80s sounding. And I've hard panned that already, which is a start. It's going to need something to make it 3D for sure. Probably an opposite pan delay. I guess we can go ahead and do that now. So, actually, just a good old fancy stereo delay. I always forget which ones do. Some of these delays will maintain their stereo-ness. Others are like a mono input, stereo output. So anything you feed it will be summed to the center and then stereoized. But I don't want that. I want it to only be on the opposite side. So let's see. My presets showed up missing yesterday. Yeah, I don't want those presets. I want mine. Yeah, they're gone. Anyway, so we'll just build that from scratch. We'll go with the Haas effect. So we'll turn syncing off. And I'll go... I always like prime numbers. I read why. I don't remember. 19 and 23 sound good for you math-inclined types. No feedback. We're going to use aggressive filtering on these, though. That's a little bit different than the usual Haas, but we'll see if I want to keep that. I use aggressive filtering more when I'm doing them. Long repeats, generally, but 100%, 100%. Okay, that'll get us something. Let's see what this gets us now. We may not want the Haas effect after all, but I'm going to start here. I can always go longer. Okay, and say turn. Okay, now looks like that's all on. There you go. Looking at the wrong meter. Yeah, it's monoized me, so that's probably not the way to go. You can tell by looking at the meter right here that it's not doing anything. It should all be on one side since the original thing's, panned that way. So I'm gonna have to figure out something. For now, it's not a huge issue, so I'm not gonna force it. And I can't really remember. I got probably 50 delays on this stupid computer. I only need 2 good ones, but that's another story. Anyway, so we've lost that ability, but we'll go with that for now because it may not be a big deal in a real mix. Okay, let's listen to where we are now.
He'll cook you dinner. He'll cook you dinner. Yeah, it looks so good.
What's this guy? Alright, very interesting. I didn't even know that was in there. And so it's real bitey, which could be fun. We'll have to see where we end up here. Same thing. I noticed this is a mono track, and I don't think this has any this is just a chorus track, so I don't know how to convert them into stereo tracks in Cubase, so I'm just going to add another one. There's got to be a button for that somewhere. I think that's a good lesson for you guys, too, is you don't have to conquer your recording software. Some people really get wound up that how complicated this stuff is. Well, maybe it is a little harder than it should be, but you don't have to build Rome in a day. And I've made 30-part series on teaching people how to use Cubase, and I don't even know how to convert to a stereo track. Well, what's that all about? Well, it's not about anything. It's just how it works. No one knows everything. So don't get too wound up about that aspect. Just do their thing and learn as you go. Okay. Now, for no real reason, I'm going to use isotope alloy for the widener. It's got a cool exciter thing anyway, but I just sometimes just use different crap. There's no real logic to it. I mean, other than the same reason that you don't want mountain lions to inbreed. I don't know. The same characteristics might stack up, and who knows what'll happen. No offense to you inbred people who bought this. I need a laugh track. Anyway, let's see here. Okay, now before we can widen it, we have to make it stereo in the first place. And so that's where it gets a little tricky. Let's take a look. I do remember having good luck with the widener. Where are you? Where are you? Imaging spatial. There it is. With the Ozone Imager. It has a stereoized button. And I remember sometimes this thing's incredible. Other times it didn't really do anything. So, whatever. But turn stereo eyes on. Sounds, I don't know. What's wrong with that? That didn't do anything cool at all. Oh, well, we'll do the usual. And I forgot to loop, so let's go back to my looping section here. Alright, we're getting wider. Gotta be careful getting too aggressive. We'll fight our vocal too much, but we'll start with that. That gives us something to work with, too. What else we got in this dumb track? Alright, now here's a fun concept too. I guess I should make 5,000 videos for this, but we're just going to keep ranting here because this is kind of fun. The vocal sound is, I've got this natural instinct to make everything real bitey and real 5K heavy. Somebody played Minivans was here last night. We were working on some synth stuff, and he's like, you need to hear this country song. And so I listened to whoever it was, Ray Jackson or Travis Myers or something. Anyway, and I just noticed that Nashville thing, they don't do that 5A. You don't hear that bitey crap. I'm not sure I ever hear it in pop music or anything else either, but for some reason it's really obvious in country. And I was like, I need to go more that way. My productions should get too. And so anyway, the vocal sound is already I went that kind of smoother route. It may not be perfect, and I'm like, this makes it still a work in progress. It's definitely not finished, obviously. But with these other tracks that all this bite, like this virus right now, it was really easy for me to get a lot more bite out of it using the imager. The stereo widening always seems to make the upper mid-range and top end really come out. So anyway, I was careful there to avoid the upper mid-range junk. But what I have to remember is for absolutely no reason at all, should I step on my vocal. Vocal sound is already kind of there, and so everything else should be shaped around that. And this is what I talked about in other videos, getting your foundation. You have to have something that you say, okay, I like that a lot. We're going with it. Because these other decisions that are going to come up and, I don't know, kind of like a chick thing. You commit to one chick, and then you're going to see other chicks that tempt you and say, hey, come over here, big boy. And you got to be able to, if you know your foundation is strong and the one you picked is good, and you know that, then you can have a little more willpower, and then maybe you don't need, VD shots and, and whatever. So you get my point there. So with this virus thing, we have no allegiance to this virus sound. I have no allegiance to really anything other than what I've committed to, which is the vocal. So let's see how we can shape that in there with the vocal without messing everything up.
He'll cook you dinner. He'll cook you dinner. Yeah, it looks so good.
Now, we have a few different options, as always. For one, let's turn this widener off and see what it sounds like.
He'll cook you dinner. He'll cook you dinner. Yeah, it looks
Well,
so
all that is, it seems like an 8K mess, a fizz machine. And that's not bad, but it means we can either keep it down in volume so that kind of the 8K is going to be fixed. Just imagine that I'm drawing a line here. 8K can't ever cross this line. I'm like on a spectrum analyzer. I don't know if I have one open right now to show you, but not really. But just imagine we can't cross 8K for the whole mix over a certain random threshold. That's just what good sound is. That's what I talk about, the curve sometimes. Now, so we can either turn this virus down or we can pull out some of that 8K junk. I haven't really decided. I definitely don't like it in the center. So we had our 8080 panned hard right. I don't know if I'm going to end up hard right with these, or hard pan with these, because you never know. That's complicated in itself. Sometimes the hard panning doesn't work. I like it a lot on tracks that are identical to, I shouldn't say almost identical to doubled guitars, for example. Hard pan very well. Sometimes other instruments, never know. So anyway, I'm going to hard pan that and see what that does.
He'll cook you dinner. He'll cook you dinner. Yeah, it looks so good.
And on these headphones, even when it's hard panned and you can hear, I guess, more of the track, because you're only going to hear what really cuts through the mix. All I'm hearing is a bunch of noise. I really do not like the sound at this point. But we're going to make it work. So I'm going to EQ some of that junk out using the stock Cubase EQ here.
He'll cook you dinner. He'll cook you dinner. Yeah, it looks so good. You'll wanna eat it.
Okay, and so now that we've trimmed the fizz crap off by 3 decibels, so a healthy amount, but nothing crazy, now the whole track's gone. Well, that's okay. So let's see what it does when we crank it back up.
Eat it. He'll cook you dinner. He'll cook you dinner.
It's still hair biting now, so I'm going to switch to a shelf, because I got a feeling there's all kinds of harmonics in there that...
Dinner. Yeah, it looks so good. You'll wanna eat it. He'll cook you dinner.
And this is the rant I want to go on about Mixer Man, and I may be misinterpreted. I don't mean to be a bad guy here or fling mud, but the notion of recording synths in mono is I already know that the synth in stereo I could just bring it up in the mix and it would feel good. And right now I've got to invent things, and I don't really like that. I don't want to do this work right here, and so I'm thinking, how can I get this spacey, basically this exact sound of the stereo synth anyway? And yes, it can be big mono, and it can be where you don't really get the stereo width you want. But in this case, it's kind of similar to having just one guitar track, like in a metal project. And that I never like being in that position. And so we're going to go with a hard panned Haas effect thing, I guess, to pretend. But what's stereo about that? And the answer is nothing. He might have been talking more in terms of having an acoustic guitar on one side and then a fiddle on the other. And that's something I would definitely recommend, hard panning, or at least started with hard panning. But this particular sound, I want this big sound. Maybe I want big mono. So I don't know. That's another discussion that I don't know a good answer to. But what I'm going to do, for one, I'm going to save my preset. I don't know if I need to, but I'm going to. I'm going to save my preset. Just call it Brando. Well, if I could type and think and talk at the same time. Brando Haas. Du hast. And then I'm going to copy this channel. Actually, I don't have to do that. I can use this new Cubase feature I've just learned, where I can drag inserts around after I do some of this business. Let's go Haas left and Haas right. Hope none of this is too boring for you. I know seeing me rename tracks isn't all that interesting, but I think some of you guys are new to this and may actually benefit it from some strange way. I'm going to go ahead and hard pan those now. That's what I just did. So that will mess up my 8080 sound a little bit. So I want to go back to that first and go in. We're just going to full-blown stereoize it, which means we're going to pan the 8080 here. Let's bypass the sends. All right, we're going to have the 8080 right here. And it's only on the right side at that point. And we're going to send it now only to the left side. Let's see what that does. Okay, and so there's our Haas effect. That's going to get us some stereo. So that's good. And now I'm going to add the virus and see how they kind of work together. All right. And we'll send that one to the right then. So we're just kind of faking our way into some kind of stereo-ness. It's not what I had in mind. Hey, you. What are you doing? Okay, in this particular track, I don't like it panned that far over. I like to adhere to LCR until I don't like it, and this is a good example of it. It's just distracting when it's that far over there. And I don't know how far I'll keep it in the end, but there we are. So let's just see where we stand right now.
Yeah, it looks so good. You'll wanna eat it. He'll cook you dinner. He'll cook you dinner. Yeah, it looks so good. You'll wanna eat it. He'll cook you dinner. He'll cook you dinner. Yeah, it looks so good. You'll wanna eat.
Okay, and this is where I'm struggling with the headphones. I don't love where I'm at because I can't hear what I need to. The stereo monitors are way better for this. I guess that's a clue for you guys trying to mix on headphones. That you're going to run into problems with spatial stuff. How left-right and how effects are, how they come out. And anything hard panned is going to get a little bit weird in headphones. Anyway, I'm going to keep on working anyway, and we'll just blab out some stuff, and hopefully it'll be useful for you. All right, now this Vox Loop thing, this is our Bulgarian chick. We had this crystallizer effect that really made it spacey before. We're not going to be able to get away with that most likely, but before I ditch it, we're going to try just EQ in this and possibly megaphone in it a little bit. It's going to have to be cut through and be low enough in the mix that it's not fighting the lead vocal, which is king in this case.
He'll cook you dinner. He'll cook you dinner. Yeah, it looks so good. You'll wanna eat it. He'll cook you dinner. He'll cook you dinner.
And we got that, whatever that is, 400 hertz in there. So let's just start by doing that. And also, I don't want to get too busy, and we crossed that bridge a long time ago. I'm going to go with Cambridge because I like doing surgery in this particular case, although Alloy would be my other choice when I got this kind of work to do. Let's see here.
Cook you dinner. Yeah, it looks so good. You'll wanna eat it.
Nope, not even close to 400. We're at 317. Just another reason why the sweep technique is so awesome and why I don't guess anymore. You always use your sweep techniques. All right, let's see that.
Eat it. He'll cook you dinner. He'll cook you dinner. Yeah, it looks so good. You'll wanna eat it.
Okay, and I got a new gadget I just got today for a review copy, and it's a Voxengo Sonoformer, which is a multiband. It's kind of hard to explain. It's a multiband compressor, but it's got 32 bands, and it works a lot different than, well, almost any plugin I've ever seen on Earth. So far, I'm in love with this thing. It's my favorite thing on Earth right now. And this video isn't really about Sonoformer, but the preset for tape compression is absurdly good on just about everything I've used it on. And so we'll just leave it at that for now and kind of go from there. Let's see what this track does.
He'll cook you dinner. You'll wanna eat it. He'll cook you dinner. He'll cook you dinner. Yeah, it looks so good. You'll wanna eat it.
Okay, now when we're mixing this thing, it's so easy to fall in love. That chick's voice is really cool, and we got some dumb effects, and that in itself is a cool thing. That's why we made it. Now, what I have to do is remember that I've got, what kind of the girl thing we talked about earlier. I got the wife back at home, so I can't fall in love with this one. Fortunately, the wife in this case is a dude singer, and that's a little weird. But, so anyway, the guy lead vocal is where it's at on this song. And so about the cooking dinner or whatever the hell he's talking about. Damn communism. And so, maybe it's about nothing. Anyway, so whatever I do, I have to be thinking about that lead vocal while I'm adjusting this. If I'm thinking about this, I will ruin the song, no doubt, or waste my time. So here we go.
He'll cook you dinner. He'll cook you dinner. Yeah, it looks so good. You'll wanna eat it. He'll cook you dinner. He'll cook you dinner. Yeah, it looks so good.
Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and make an executive decision. We're going to nuke this. And why are we going to nuke it? Because it doesn't make sense loud. And I'm not big these days on just putting all kinds of little hidden junk. I know some people are, and that's their business. For me, I'm trying to hit people over the head, and I have a hard enough time getting them to hear the vocal when, I don't know, the damn vocal soloed or something. And so I'm in a non-clutter type of mode. And that's kind of how I look at this thing right now. It's cool, and I might be able to add a lot of 10K to it and bring it in on maybe the final chorus where there's some ad-libs and things like that. But as is, I don't think I like it. I think the song makes more sense. Let's say we're cooking dinner. It makes sense without this little side distraction. So let's listen to it without that in there.
He'll cook you dinner. He'll cook you dinner. Yeah, it looks so good. You'll wanna eat it. He'll cook you dinner. He'll cook you dinner. Yeah, it looks so good. You'll wanna eat it.
Okay, that feels more like a chorus. Maybe not the strongest one in the world, but yeah, it's not a bad song. Right now, I'm struggling on the headphones with the bass volume of the Moog with all that fizz. I don't know where we're at. I want that to be very wide and none of it in the center. I want none of it fighting the vocal, and I can't tell at all with headphones, so you're kind of out of luck on that. If that sounds like junk, well, that's my fault. So I guess we learned a lot of things here, or talked about the Haas effect, talked about duplicating tracks, and then so you can manipulate them totally different on choruses without worrying about automation and things like that. Talked about the Voxengo Sonoformer, particularly the whatever this is, the tape compression preset. This being a game changer. I'll have more videos on it for sure. Talked about when trying to jam too many damn things into a chorus. Sometimes you're just better off to just toss it and not confuse the listener any worse than you need to. You'll develop your own philosophies on that, and that's your business. We talked about how the lead vocal is king, and that if you start tinkering with other stuff too much without worrying about the wife at home, you're asking for trouble. We probably talked about 700 other things. I don't think I mentioned genocide in this particular video. No, I didn't. All right, guys, on that note, I'm out of here. Thanks. Bye.